The question everyone in the NFL world has been desperately asking just got answered. And Deion Sanders' response is going to hit you straight in the heart. Shedeur Sanders is about to make his first official NFL start against the Las Vegas Raiders this weekend, and naturally, the entire football world wants to know if Coach Prime is going to be there in that stadium to witness this absolutely monumental moment in his son's career. But what Deion just revealed about his decision-making process goes so much deeper than just showing up to watch a game. This is about fatherhood at its most raw and vulnerable. This is about sacrifice that most people will never understand. This is about the impossible balance between supporting your child with everything you have and not wanting to become the distraction that overshadows their biggest moment. What Deion said is going to make you see this entire situation in a completely different light. And it brutally exposes just how unfair and toxic the scrutiny has been on this family from the very beginning. We're talking about a father genuinely wrestling with whether his mere presence will help or hurt his son at the most crucial moment of his professional life. We're talking about a media narrative that's gotten so twisted and vicious that even a father's support has become controversial. And we're talking about a moment that transcends football completely and gets to the absolute heart of what it means to be a parent watching your child chase their dreams on the biggest stage imaginable. Let's set the stage properly here because this weekend represents something absolutely massive for Shedeur Sanders. Yes, he technically got onto the field already during that chaotic Sunday night football disaster against the Baltimore Ravens when Dillon Gabriel went down with a concussion. But that wasn't really his debut in any meaningful sense of the word. That was a rookie quarterback being thrown into absolute pandemonium with zero preparation whatsoever, 0 first-team reps, an offensive line that didn't even know his snap count or cadence, a game plan designed for a completely different style of quarterback, one of the most hostile environments in all of professional football, against one of the league's absolute best defenses. That wasn't a debut. That was trial by fire under literally the worst possible circumstances you could imagine. This weekend against the Raiders is fundamentally different. This is his first official start with a full week of actual preparation, with first-team repetitions in practice, with a game plan built specifically around his strengths and capabilities. This is the real beginning of Shedeur's NFL story, the moment when everything truly starts. And for any father watching their son start his first NFL game, that would be an incredibly significant and emotional moment. But for Deion Sanders, who built a Hall of Fame career in this exact league, who understands better than almost anyone alive what it takes to succeed at this level, who has dedicated literally years to preparing Shurdeur for this precise opportunity, this moment carries even more profound weight. This is the culmination of countless hours of training together, of film study sessions that lasted until 3 in the morning, of conversations about technique and reads and decision-making and handling pressure. This is Shedeur stepping onto the same stage where his father became an absolute legend and cultural icon. The emotional magnitude of this moment is almost impossible to properly articulate or overstate. But here's where this story becomes so much more complicated and so much more revealing about the impossible position this family has been forced into by the media and public scrutiny. When asked directly whether he's planning to attend Shedeur's first start, Deion's answer wasn't a simple yes or no. Instead, he revealed a deeply personal internal struggle that exposes just how toxic and fundamentally unfair the media environment has become around this entire family. He said he genuinely hasn't made up his mind yet, that people close to him have been urging him to go, that he's pretty sure Shedeur wants him there in the stadium, but that he's seriously worried about being a distraction that takes attention away from his son's performance. Think about that reality for just a second. Really let it sink in. A father is actively worried that showing up to support his son at the single most important moment of his professional career might somehow hurt him or become a negative storyline that overshadows the game. That's absolutely insane when you really think about it. And it's a direct result of how disgustingly the media has covered this family for years. Deion specifically said, you want to be out of the way. You don't want to be a distraction. Not that I ever would be. That phrase, not that I ever would be, is absolutely crucial because it shows Deion's complete awareness that he hasn't actually been a distraction, despite the media narrative constantly suggesting otherwise. He's been remarkably restrained all season long. He hasn't called into radio shows complaining about Shedeur's playing time. He hasn't criticized Kevin Stefanski or the coaching staff publicly. He hasn't created controversy or made unreasonable demands. He's done exactly what you'd want from any parent in this situation, staying supportive while completely respecting the process and letting the coaches do their jobs without interference. Yet somehow the narrative persists and grows stronger that his mere presence is inherently problematic, that his involvement as a father is somehow inappropriate, that he's hovering or interfering or being overbearing. And that narrative has gotten so pervasive and powerful that now Deion is actually questioning whether he should even attend his own son's first NFL start because he's worried about how it will be perceived, covered, and twisted by people looking for controversy where none exists. But then Deion revealed the other side of his internal debate, the side that literally any parent anywhere can relate to on a fundamental human level. He talked about how Shurdeur came all the way to Colorado to watch him coach the Buffaloes, how much that meant to him emotionally, how the trip from Colorado to Las Vegas is even shorter and easier, how he starts thinking as a dad about what it would mean to Shedeur if he just catches a glimpse of him before he walks out onto that field for the biggest moment of his life. This is the push and pull happening inside Deion's mind and heart right now. On one hand, he desperately doesn't want to create a media circus or give critics any ammunition whatsoever to suggest he's being overbearing or inappropriate. On the other hand, he knows deep in his soul that his son would draw genuine strength and confidence from seeing his father there, physically supporting him in this crucial moment. And the fact that Deion even has to weigh these considerations at all, the fact that a father attending his son's game has become this complicated calculation about media narratives and potential backlash and public perception, shows just how completely absurd and dysfunctional this entire situation has become. Let's talk about what Shedeur is actually facing on the field this weekend, because the football challenges are significant and daunting enough without adding all the external noise and manufactured drama. The Cleveland Browns offense is currently ranked at the absolute bottom of Pro Football Focus's offensive impact rankings, dead last out of 32 teams. This isn't a situation where a rookie quarterback is stepping into a well-oiled machine with elite weapons everywhere and a dominant offensive line creating easy opportunities. This is a genuinely dysfunctional offense that has struggled mightily all season to move the ball consistently, score points, or establish any kind of coherent identity. Asking a rookie making his very first start to somehow magically turn that around overnight is an enormous ask. It's probably an unfair ask if we're being honest. But that's the harsh reality Shedeur is walking into. The offensive line has been an absolute disaster all year long, which is particularly problematic given that Shedeur's biggest area for improvement is learning to step up confidently in the pocket rather than bailing out backwards when pressure comes. If the pocket is constantly collapsing immediately and the protection is breaking down on every play, it's going to be incredibly difficult for him to develop better habits because his instinct to escape will be constantly validated by the circumstances. The receiving corps has talent but hasn't been consistently productive or created separation. The running game has been wildly inconsistent from week to week. The play calling has been questionable at absolute best. Everything about this situation is challenging and stacked against him. And that's before you even factor in that this is a rookie making his first start on the road in an actual NFL stadium with real crowd noise and legitimate NFL caliber defenders who have been watching film and specifically trying to figure out how to destroy him. But here's what gives Shedeur a legitimate fighting chance despite all those obstacles. The Las Vegas Raiders defense, while talented in certain spots, has clear vulnerabilities that can absolutely be exploited by a well-prepared offense. They're not the Baltimore Ravens. This isn't the same level of overwhelming defensive excellence and championship-caliber talent. There are matchups that genuinely favor Cleveland if they can execute their game plan properly. And Shedeur has shown throughout his entire career from Jackson State through Colorado that he consistently rises to big moments. He doesn't shrink from pressure or get overwhelmed by the stage. His confidence and natural poise are absolutely elite, and those intangible qualities often matter more than pure physical tools when you're trying to win your first start. The question about Deion's attendance has sparked so much passionate conversation and debate because it touches on something completely universal that goes way beyond football or sports. Every parent who's ever watched their child compete in anything understands the deep desire to be there physically, to show support, to let them know you're proud, regardless of the outcome. And every parent who's ever been in a situation where their presence might create complications or unwanted attention understands the exact internal debate that Deion is having right now. Do you prioritize your desire to be there and your child's desire to have you there? Or do you stay away to avoid potential negative consequences that might affect their performance or overshadow their moment? There's no perfect answer to that question. There's no guidebook. And the fact that Deion is being this transparent and vulnerable about wrestling with the decision shows remarkable honesty that most public figures would never reveal. Think about the complete absurdity of the media environment that created this impossible dilemma in the first place. If Deion attends the game, even sitting quietly in a private suite just watching his son play, there will be cameras cutting to him constantly throughout the broadcast. Announcers will talk about him extensively. Social media will analyze his every reaction and facial expression. Hot take artists will debate endlessly whether his presence is appropriate or puts too much pressure on Shurdeur. There will be countless stories written about whether he's being too involved or creating unnecessary pressure. All of this despite the fact that he's literally just being a father watching his son's first NFL start, which is something that happens at every single game across the league every single weekend without any controversy whatsoever. But because he's Deion Sanders, because he's naturally charismatic and famous and successful in his own right, because he's never apologized for his personality or tried to make himself smaller to make other people comfortable, his mere presence becomes a massive storyline that threatens to overshadow the actual football game. And if he doesn't attend, that becomes an even bigger story too. Why didn't Coach Prime show up for his son's first start? Is there tension in the family? Did the Browns organization ask him to stay away? Does this mean he doesn't think Shedeur is ready? The speculation and hot takes will be absolutely endless regardless of what he decides to do. So Deion is damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. Forced to navigate an impossible situation where literally any choice he makes will be scrutinized, analyzed, criticized, and turned into controversy by someone with an agenda or a hot take to sell. This is the brutal reality of being a public figure in the social media age, especially when you're a black man who's been unapologetically confident and successful throughout your entire career. Deion has always been authentically himself, flashy and charismatic and entertaining and confident. He's never apologized for his personality or tried to shrink himself down to make others comfortable with his success. And there's a significant segment of the media and fan base that has deeply resented him for that confidence throughout his entire career, from his playing days through now. Now that resentment and criticism is being projected directly onto his son. And even Deion's most basic parental instinct to support Shedeur is being turned into something controversial and inappropriate. The logistics piece is also really interesting and revealing because Deion mentioned that multiple people have been urging him to go to the game. That suggests extensive conversations with family members, with advisors, possibly with people in Shedeur's inner circle who understand how much it would mean to him emotionally to have his father there in the building. But it also suggests that there's been enough genuine concern about the potential optics and media narrative that multiple people have felt the need to give Deion their opinion on whether he should attend. The fact that this has become a topic requiring consultation and strategic thinking and careful consideration rather than just a father naturally showing up to watch his son play tells you absolutely everything you need to know about how dysfunctional and toxic the coverage of this family has been for years. Let's also acknowledge the beautiful side of what Deion said because his comments reveal the profound depth of love and thoughtfulness he has as a father. When he talked about Shedeur coming all the way to Colorado to watch him coach the Buffaloes, You could genuinely hear the emotion and gratitude in his voice. That matters to him enormously. His kids showing up to support him in his career means something profound and meaningful. And the recognition that Shurdeur made that effort, that he prioritized being there for his father despite his own demanding schedule, creates a reciprocal obligation in Deion's mind and heart. How can he not show up for Shedeur when Shedeur has consistently shown up for him? That's the absolute essence of family, of mutual support and sacrifice and being there for each other when it matters most. And Deion clearly feels that pull extremely strongly. The comment about catching a glimpse before walking out is particularly poignant and emotionally powerful. Deion understands from his own Hall of Fame career that sometimes the most meaningful support isn't about grand gestures or making a scene or drawing attention to yourself. Sometimes it's just about that brief moment of eye contact, that quick acknowledgement of, "I see you, I'm here, I believe in you, now go get it." Those moments matter enormously to athletes before competition at any level. Just knowing that someone who loves you unconditionally and believes in you is in the building can provide a psychological boost that's impossible to quantify but incredibly real in its impact on performance and confidence. And Deion knows this intimately from his own playing career. He knows exactly what it meant when his family was there watching him compete at the highest level. He knows the confidence and strength you can draw from that physical presence and support. So what's he actually going to do? Based on everything he said and the way he said it, my genuine sense is that Deion is leaning toward going to Las Vegas. The logistical consideration about it being a relatively short trip suggests he's already thinking practically about how to make it work. The acknowledgement that Shedeur wants him there and that it would mean something profound to see each other before the game suggests the emotional pull is incredibly strong. And ultimately, Deion is a father first before he's a media figure or a coach or a celebrity or anything else. When push comes to shove, I believe he's going to prioritize what his son needs and wants over concerns about how his presence will be covered or perceived by critics looking for controversy. And honestly, that's exactly what he should do. The media is going to create narratives and controversy regardless of what happens. They've already proven that beyond any doubt. So why let the fear of bad coverage prevent you from being there for literally one of the most important moments of your child's entire life? If people want to criticize him for attending his son's first NFL start, let them criticize. Those criticisms will reveal far more about the critics and their agendas than they will about Deion Sanders. Any reasonable person with a functioning heart understands that a father supporting his son at a major career milestone is completely normal, appropriate, and beautiful. The bigger issue that nobody wants to address is why the media has created an environment where Deion even has to think this way in the first place. Why has supporting your child been turned into something controversial? Why is Deion Sanders held to completely different standards than literally every other NFL parent? There are parents at every single game across the league every single weekend. Patrick Mahomes' family is constantly shown on broadcasts, and nobody complains. Tom Brady's family was featured regularly during his entire career. Travis Kelce's family became literal celebrities because of how much they were shown during Chiefs games, and nobody questioned whether they should be there. But nobody suggests those families are distractions or questions whether they should attend games or implies their presence is inappropriate. The stark difference in how Deion is treated compared to other famous NFL parents is impossible to ignore. And it's extremely hard not to notice the racial and cultural dynamics clearly at play in that differential treatment. Come Sunday, all eyes across the football world will be on Shedeur Sanders and how he performs in his first NFL start against the Raiders. But maybe some of those eyes should also be looking at the much bigger picture here, at the family dynamics and the media scrutiny and the way we treat public figures trying to balance their careers with being good parents. At whether we're contributing to an environment that makes it harder for people to simply show up and support their loved ones without it becoming a whole manufactured thing. If you're as invested in this story as we are, make sure you smash that like button right now. Drop a comment below telling me whether you think Deion should make the trip to Vegas or stay in Colorado, and subscribe to this channel so you never miss the next chapter of this incredible story. Hit that notification bell because we're covering the Sanders family journey with the humanity and nuance it deserves, not just the hot takes and controversy. This is about so much more than football, and we'll see you in the next one.